wrestling match. So since there are not that many chapters, tons of content, but not that many chapters, I feel like there's a very good opportunity to talk and all of us interact about what's going on and what do we all think is the message and the highlights of these chapters. I was thinking that yesterday. I would love, if you got to prepare the portion for today, what will be highlighted for you in this chapter? That was a question that I kept thinking while I was preparing myself, and I would love to hear what's coming up. So it starts on verse 3 for many Bibles. TLB starts on verse 4. And it says, "And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau." How do you pronounce that name in English so I don't miss it?
I think it's Esau.
Esau, okay. In Spanish is Esau, so a little bit different. Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, instructing them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus say your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stay until now." So context, Jacob is about to encounter his worst fear. His brother, the one he betrayed and did betray in a big time. Remember that one? He stole the firstborn blessing, and then mom was like, run and don't look back. It's like a movie, right? Like, run and don't look back. Like a very good movie. And he does. And then we know what happens with Laban. Several years for one, several years for the other, and several years for the animals. He's there for a long time. But then he's coming up. And he knows he's going to encounter. So he's going to start doing many things. I feel this chapter is packed with humanity. Packed with that humanity reality. How many times have you seen biblical stories and it sounds so spiritual that it's hard to relate? Sometimes they can be like, what I mean by this is, they did it perfectly, and he prayed and listened to the Lord and went this way, and it sounds like, oh, that sounds amazing. I wish I could do that. And sometimes they are so crooked and wrong, and it's like, I cannot relate to that. That's way too evil, too much evil. But you can see through all this narrative, like this struggle of protecting their own lives and trusting what God has said for their lives. So in verse 6 says, "And the messenger returned to Jacob, saying, We came to your brother Esau, and he's coming to meet you, and there are 400 men with him." What tone do you read this? What's the emphasis that you read? Because it can sound very different. It sounds like informative. Hey, we did bump into him. He's coming to this direction, and he has 400. Or it can sound different, like, "We saw Esau, and he's coming your way. He has 400 men with him." Oh, that sounds different. Right? You get, like, you're afraid already. And then you add 400 men? Whew. So what does he do? What happens next? This is the good part. He prays. He lifts up his voice. Verse 7 describes how he's feeling. Afraid and distressed. It's real. Afraid and distressed. You know, when we, even physically, when we are afraid or in distress, we react or respond very different. It's a fight-flight mode. It's like when we're afraid and on distress, things changes. You remember a moment that you were in afraid or distress that you had to react? Maybe an accident, a car just caught you in front and you're like, in a split of a second, suddenly you became like this professional driver and you're like spinning the wheel and braking or just screaming, letting the steering wheel go and hit. It can go both ways, right? Either you. So he's afraid and distressed. And he starts on verse 9. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac. So he acknowledged who this God, he's not just praying to the air or to the good spirit or to the goodwill or the energies. No, he knows exactly who's he's directing his prayer at, right? The God of my father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred, that I may do you good. So he has a promise. He has instruction. And now he's facing, very similar than when Abraham was asked for Isaac, he's facing the, hold on, your instruction and the promise are conflicting. Can you see that? No. He's having a moment where your promise, get up and go and return and I'll be with you and I'll do good to you. And suddenly it's like, Lord, I think you forgot one element. There's one guy that wants to kill me. And if he does, two things are going to be very bad. One, I'm going to be dead. And two, what about your promise? So we see that, we talk about it. I don't remember what portion, but we talk about like this tension, these paradoxes. How is this going to happen? And then in verse 10, he comes to this realization and says, I am not worthy of the least of all the deeds of the steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. That's a good heart position. He's going low. He's recognizing the Lord. He's saying, I'm not worthy. But then on verse 11 it says, please deliver me. Please deliver me. And it recalls again on verse 12, but you said, I will surely do you good and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So here's Jacob praying, interacting with God in this tension of, Lord, you said very good things. But in reality, I don't even know if I'm going to make it today. Okay, let's pause there for a moment. What are your thoughts? Okay, sir.
He can believe that God told him, I'll protect you, take care of you. But I think it's almost a very human reaction to say, okay, you told me that, did you tell him that?
That will be very important, right? That will be very important. It's similar to when, like, well, the Lord told me to marry you. Like, well, I'll do it whenever He tells me. Tells me the same. Lori.
Well, yeah, and we also see, like, the humanity of Jacob. Like, when he first hears there's 400 coming, even before he prays, he prepares for the worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's, like, dividing up, already deciding, this is not going to go well. And I think it's some people, like myself, some of us, we first go to that worst case scenario before we go to the fact that this will all work out.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a personality trait I've never cared for, that I will go to the worst case scenario first.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's like necessarily a lack of complete trust that he had, because he does pray and talk to the Lord. But he's being very practical on this too. If this goes bad, I don't want everybody wiped out, so let's divide this. So you can kind of see, and he's also been dealing with Laban, who's been pulling a fast one on him for what, 21?
40,
yeah,
24.
A long time, right?
Yeah.
So he's used to it, you know, Lord taking care of him, but it's still not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I think in this, I appreciate the fact that actually they do put in the context that he did prepare for the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And then he cried out to the Lord.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know you promised me this, but, and he's really wrestling with that, like many of us do. This,
Yes.
you said this, but this looks really bad.
I agree.
Mhm.
I agree, and that's why I was mentioning like the humanity, just
Yeah.
like you said. It is good that we can recognize and relate to the humanity of the people that we're reading. They're not just characters in a play;
Mhm.
they're humans. Trusting the Lord, and at the same moment, on the same breath, shaking their legs and doubting, but then moving forward. And it's such a very real.
I was going to say, to me, it's a reminder, the reality of every day, that evil will manifest through people that come into our lives, and we can't control their free will. So it's that learning to trust that the Lord can protect us through that,
Yes.
and will, and
Yes.
has, our soul, maybe not our body, maybe.
Yes.
But
Yes. That's good. Yes.
I like that. True to Jacob's nature, he remembers the covenant that
Mhm.
God made with his father and grandfather.
Yes.
To him, yeah, this doesn't look good, but he remembers God's promise, so he interacts with God with that. We seem like we see that throughout the patriarchs. We see that and Moses, interacting with God, God says, I'm gonna wipe out Israel. Moses stands in their place and plays with God, and so, yeah, there's this remembering the covenant, remembering the promises. I know it doesn't look good, so God, you need to step up and, you're into the bargain, I'm
Exactly.
doing what I can here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect everybody,
Yeah.
but I'm concerned for my wives, my kids,
Everything.
all this,
I like it. The way you're saying it reminds me, we're still in Genesis, so a lot of the beginnings of many things, the foundations of many things. And throughout Scripture, we're going to find this phrase or mention that I did this because of the love for your fathers. A lot of things like Moses, David, prophets, and even on the time of Yeshua, if you remember the Magnificat, like the Song of Mary, it says like, oh, and you did this because of the love and faithfulness to the Father. So that theme is not just like, oh, because you really like this generation and you were into this generation. No. A lot of the times it's gonna get mentioned the fact that the love, even the way Jacob mentioned it, how is it like your faithfulness? Here, verse 10. I'm not worried of the least of all the deeds of steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant and to his fathers and grandfather. So that's going to be something that's going to be settled and be like, God said I will do it. And that means he's going to come true. Are they going to go through hardship? Oh, throughout the rest of the book is that. Including our time. Right? Connected this way. You remember sermon, the Lord ascending and giving the Great Commission, and then he closes with a very beautiful promise. And I will be with you till the end of the age. That's a big, beautiful promise. So that means that everything is going to be pink color until he comes back. Of course not. But he will continue to be faithful the way he has been to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and we can even go backwards. So
I was just going to see if I could read King James Version.
go for it.
It says, deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot. I'm not worthy of the least of all the miracles mercies, and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto these servants.
Love it. Love it. It's this beautiful humanity shining and divine shining both at the same time. That's what we're getting to see a lot in here. So he prays, and then he starts preparing himself, like Lori was saying. He has a scenario. He has practicals to do. And he starts preparing a gift, right? That we're going to see on verse 20, the thinking of his mind, or the reasoning of his heart. He says, for he thought, I may appease him with the present that goes ahead of me, and afterward I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. And I marked this verse because I found it very intriguing, the reaction. Let me appease him with gifts, and then I will encounter him. What does that sound to you? Does that sound familiar to anything? That sounds like a... Yeah, how do you read that verse before I start commenting on it? How do you read those?
I think he's trying to lessen the probability of annihilation, and I look at it like when he was working for his uncle Laban. It's like no matter what bad was done, he always worked out a way in his own, intelligence to devise a plan, what he's going to do, and it seemed to work for him for many, many years until this instance. So he's brought to the high probability that his entire family claims could get completely wiped out. And so you begin to see some cracks appearing in his foundation, and even with, I see him appealing like to fathers, but isn't it interesting? He's like he's not my God. So there's something that needs to take place in his life, I think, for him to own his relationship with God that his fathers had, but he didn't have it on the same level until, this is crisis stage.
Yeah, it feels like this is going to be a crisis moment that is going to impact him forever. He might come out wimping out of this. Nola, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just think in this time in history that we're in, where so much talk is around the deal making, I see that historically in the patriarchs. Let's have some options here, and don't just run head on into a clash.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. When I was reading these, it took me to a place. So I'm still in the story, but the way of operating in this way, like gaining people with favors and things, and not just people. Like I'm not saying this is what Jacob was doing. This is what triggered me by reading this verse. Think about most or all pagan worship. How does it operate? It's by gift and appeasing, gift and appeasing, gift and appeasing. Right? How it's like most gods, small g. False gods. Usually, how do they relate? Gifts to appease the wrath of their gods and to find their favor. Gifts, favor. Gifts, favor. It's a transactional way of relating. It's a transactional way of relating, because think about it. What can you give to a God? Doesn't make sense. The same way that in a reality like this, Jacob stole him from what? A few things? He stole the Rolex out of his brother? What did he stole? Something? Everything. Everything. Like, that was a major thing. It's just not like, oh, well, but one time you took my truck and... No. It's a lot bigger. So, in a way, Esau can be saying like, oh, so you're trying to appease me with the things that you got because of the blessing that you stole me. Like, just like, it's not proportionate. It's not proportionate. It's like, this is where my head went into all of the, again, I'm not saying Jacob is doing this, it's just where my head went when I was reading this verse. I had the opportunity, for whatever Lord's reason, to meet several people in Mexico that worship the dead. That are in the cult of the dead, which is very bad. Very bad. And all of them, all the stories I have heard have the same pattern. They came with a need, like a major need. Heal these bodies, heal somebody. Like they will need a miracle, something very big. They got it, and now they're bound. Fearful. Very, very dangerous men crying, saying, you don't know what this is going to do to me. So I cannot live. And gifts and gifts and gifts and offerings and appeasing. It's like a calming the lion. Does that sound like a life? Does that sound like life? That sounds like Ephesians 2, where it says, in other times, you were away, you were foreign to the covenant, you were foreign to everything, you were without hope and without God. That's how many people in the world lives. Just surviving, appeasing some gods or appeasing people. They're just like deal makers. They're like, like merchants. Like gypsies, with all respect, not to, just like the way of living. Is that what the Lord came to give us? Does that sound like the life He designed for humanity? To be merchants and bargain and give you this, give you that. Jim?
I was just going to say that's definitely how the early Gentile believers in Yeshua experienced with their neighbors. When they stopped giving the gifts and the worship to the various gods, then their neighbors obviously were upset. It disrupted the whole social order that, we as a Roman society, we need to appease the gods. And if you only worship one God, the God of Israel, then you're going to bring destruction upon us.
Yeah.
And so it's a very common perspective that, yes, if you don't appease the gods now, then you're bringing destruction to our whole society. So get on board or die, or.
Yeah, I saw before moving here to Kansas City, we were living in a place in Mexico. We were living on the outskirts of the city, so we were in a little town. Like the house we were living was outside in ranch area. So there was a tiny town, very poor. Most people had to work. They live very, very low income, but they had the feast of the annual feast of the town, and they have all these different idols they worship, and I will see for like 2 months before the money collects they were doing. So I asked the lady that helped us with the cleaning, I said, like, how does that work and all that? And she was telling me all the amount of money they recollect. And I'm like, hold on. You're collecting these thousands and thousands of pesos. When as a family, you guys have nothing to eat, like you barely make it. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Like the families are barely making it on a week basis. Oh, but when time for idols, thousands upon thousands are collected. And shrines getting bigger and brighter and more shiny and things and everything. And the part is like, what is this? It's bounding. It's just like slavery. Again, I'll come back to the story, but no.
And I have to say that, and I hope I don't think I'm be offending anyone here, but as a former Catholic, there's a lot of Christianity that is, the bargaining, light a candle,
I'll agree with you, and I will say that that is not limited to the Catholic. It might be most well known because of them. It applies on all branches of Christianity, because everything we do, every good, true, and beautiful we do without our heart, it can become like that. Coming here without the heart is nonsense. Going to service, everything. So, yes, I will say majority, because of the impact on the world and the influence they have, the brokenness is more notorious, but it's not limited. It happens on all branches. All branches.
I was gonna say that I think also individually, when we're facing fear, that we have to be careful that we don't like accept a bribe or you know, because our emotions are so involved. It comes all the way down to the individual as well. That we have to be careful we don't, you know, try to appease someone or whatever to get out of, or to deal with that fear, or to get more security at that moment or whatever.
Right. Even in the natural, people will say that's wisdom. Don't make a big decision in fear or in excitement. Like on those peaks, it's like, hold on, like temperance.
Yes.
But yes.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so Lori.
One other thing
Go for it.
with the mindset of what's going on here, where Jacob's looking at how Esau made you all this.
Yes.
And it's been a long time, so he doesn't know like if his brother has pondered the reality of the fact that, hey, I didn't steal your birthright, you sold it to me for a bowl of soup.
To start with, yeah.
And, you know, yeah, I tricked Dad to make sure that I got what you sold me for a bowl of stew, you know. And whether or not Esau, because you don't know how people look at offenses, if they process this correctly of how things went down, or if a bitterness grows because you made a mistake but you want to blame it on somebody else, right? So that whole thing of being away from him for so long, he doesn't know, has this anger, which he said he was going to kill him,
but
has this festered, or has he simmered down and come down to the reality? And we really don't find out until the end of this portion, which I hate jumping to the end of the portion, but it
go for it,
connect, that by the end of the portion, it does appear that Esau does really realize that, hey, I did give this away. I did sell this away, because at the death of his father, he takes his family and everything and leaves that land to give that inherited land
I think that's massive.
to his brother. So it's like you need to give the fact that Esau some credit in the fact that not only did he forgive his brother when he walked into the land, but he honored this. He didn't fight him for the land. It doesn't say they had a big blowout over this. It's Dad's dead. This is your land. Wow. And I'm going to go somewhere else. And there's like the reality of the fact that we see a lot of healing that must have gone on within Esau. To be willing to observe what's gone on here and give it to him. He didn't try to sell it, he didn't try to negotiate. So that healing between the two brothers and how time, you know, sometimes time can heal all wounds type of saying, but I think that there's just the dynamic of how that all played out is really cool on this. And especially for Esau, which is why we see at the time of Moses where, you know, God's like, don't mess with this group of people. I gave him this, you know. There was an honoring there too, because he had honored the covenant that was given to his brother by leaving the land.
I love how you said it, because it's so true. Again, we're jumping in using these topics to process different things, but yes, the reality is that we don't know. They were going toward a collision, but during all that time that we just went in the movie with Laban, in the story, what was going on with Esau? And how he recalled of these things. Exactly. This was going to be the tossing of the coin to see, like, does the anger grow into bitterness and murder, or has subdued and become what we see that is happening, which is massive. The fact that he lived at the end that they can bury father together. I think that is that is huge. That is huge. Still this day, not every father and mother gets to be buried by all their sons together. Like, that's still a struggle. But then the fact that he leaves, like, there's a lot of healing. And also in Jacob, I believe, like you were mentioning, like he's about to experience this transformation. That, yes, I think I'm not against like this planning and like only God. There's a lot of involvement of humanity. He chose it that way. But there's something that is going to change inside in the next verses when he wrestles with this man. He has a big fight. But one thing that I like is that he already sent everyone. So he's alone. Just the way he started. Yes, he knows he owns that. He knows that's his family, everything. But at that moment, he's alone. Back to square one. Completely alone. And it says on verse 24, and Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. And then we double click into it and says, when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, let me go, for the day has broken. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So unique. Then he said to him, what is your name? He said, Jacob. Then he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven. Thank you. Striven, I lost myself here, with God and with man, and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. Why is it that you ask me my name? And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, for I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered. Okay, we have plenty to talk in here. Who is he encountering? Who's this man? Where he come from? What happened? Who is this man? I love Russell just goes. How do you know that? How do you guys know that?
Well, he stated that he saw him face to face and lived.
So it's a man, that's what it says. But then it says he wrestled with God. So it's a man, but it's God. It's so face to face, so it's not a power, a cloud, a spirit. It's a man. Very unique. And think about it. Jacob till this moment has had some encounters with God. Right? And now he's fighting, wrestling. He's like, I'm not gonna let you go. He's fighting with all he has. With all he has. One time I heard this really cool phrase about this portion. It said like, this is a good promise for all of us. Meaning, you know that if you wrestle with God, you're gonna lose. And that is a very good thing. That's a very good thing. He will always win, and that's the best. But coming back to this, he's wrestling. He said like, I will not let you go unless you bless me. I would love to hear, what do you think this means? Or why Jacob thinking this? Help me connect the dots.
I perceived something in this being that was much greater than himself. And that, if ever there was a time where he needed supernatural favor, it's now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he really not just wanted, he needed something from God. We don't really hear his perceptions of the individual. I think it's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
The angel couldn't prevail against him, but just touches him and puts his hip outside, you know, just.
Yeah. I think that's a good note.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's almost like angels pretending to be weak.
I don't know. But yeah.
And boop.
So another hand for here.
Well, do you think that he knows, because he asks what his name is a little bit later, so does he really know? He knows this person, this man is powerful, but that he knows that it's God, Yeshua or whatever,
It's a good argument. That's why I'm asking. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, we know we have read and we can conclude with ease and say like he is like the kind of like the angel of the Lord, reincarnated Yeshua, this figure of messenger, and God at the same time, because of the rest of Scripture, and that is actually good exegesis. We can conclude, who can be sent and at the same time be divine? So we know. Hebrews says it. In other times I'm speaking to you in many ways, but now I'm speaking through my Son. The only one that is sent, but at the same time is. So therefore we can read back. But the reason I'm asking is like, let's engage with the text as it is.
Yeah.
Because how much details he knows? Does he know he's the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the son of David? No, not at all. Nothing like that has happened yet. So,
But he is asking for a blessing, so
Yeah.
he recognizes something, maybe just not the fullness of who this is.
yes, Lori.
So if we take it back to when he first had that encounter on his way to Laban's
Mhm.
place,
On the rocks?
with the rocks, and he, back in chapter 28,
Mhm.
and he gets to the point after he's had this encounter, realizes this is a sacred place, he knows it's God,
Mhm.
but his thing is, if God will be with me and watch over me on the way that I am going, provide me food to eat and clothes to wear, and I return in shalom to my father's house.
Come on.
Then Adonai will be my God. So at this point in time, I mean, he had put that there, now he's going back to his father's house.
Yeah.
So I think that blessing is tied in going back to this, following this thread of this promise.
Yes.
And so I think when he's saying, bless me, I think he's saying, fulfill that promise.
I love it. I love it. That's a great way. But it's good that we stop a little bit and be like, what does it mean blessed, to be blessed? Believer and getting used to the Scriptures, you can hear blessing or God bless you, and it can lose its meaning. It can be just like oh yeah, blessing. But it's good to pause and be like, what is he thinking? What might he be thinking? And I like what you're saying. Like this is not a story that just started here. There's a backstory. Even before Laban, he's going and he's very afraid, very similar to how he is right now. He's very afraid. So we're back to the afraid part. Now he said, like, can you fulfill what you promised? Can you fulfill what you promised? I love this tension. Oh, I just gave a class this week on Galatians. I'm jumping a little parenthesis. But on that part where Paul says, like, Galatians, you start this by the Spirit, and now you're going to try to finish it by the flesh? Does that sound like good strategy to you? Like, and I was quoting this verse where it says, like, for the one that how is it the verse in English? The one that started the faith is going to fulfill it?
He who completed the good and a good work will be faithful.
There you go. He who, what?
He who started a good work.
He who started the good work, and then it changed it and said, you will complete it. But, like, that sounds off. That sounds off. Is that, yes, there's this beautiful partnership. He has created us to engage. Oh yeah, you take that away and it's heresy. We're not puppets. So there's a partnership, but I love how the divine is weaving into this, and he's partaking as much as he can, and the Lord in his grace is covering him. He's saying, like, bless me, fulfill, make this happen, because there's no way I can finish it without you, sir.
I do believe that God enjoys it when we hold him accountable for his word. I think there's true blessing in that.
Expand a little bit, kind of like, you said this.
Yeah, like, death and life is in the tongue. So, you know, like how we speak about things and God and His Word and everything, it holds true power and authority.
Yeah.
I mean, His Word is true power and authority. So, yeah, I do believe He likes it when we acknowledge that and hold Him accountable.
I love it. It's like you're wrestling and you're like, you're saying like, don't forget your story. It's like, oh, I'm so glad you're not forgetting my story. He doesn't forget his story.
Yep.
But it's that way, like, kind of like Moses, who brought it. I think, Jim, you said it. Like when Moses said, like, really? All these, and then you're going to destroy them? What are they going to be saying about you? And he's interacting in a beautiful way. He's engaging the macro story and said, like, what are they going to say about you? You don't want that. Sounds like a counselor. Right?
Yeah.
When I think about this, I can think of parenting. You know, all of you parents know that working with your kids for a project is not the most efficient way to do something, right? If you choose to, the other day I was shoveling the snow, and one of my daughters was like, can I help you? And my mind went immediately into do I want this fast? Which was my purpose. My plan at the beginning was get the driveway done as quick as possible. But I knew the moment a little kid was going to be joining, things are going to be moving a little slower. But it's so beautiful. Parents, have you ever been challenged and actually the kids are correct? But you said, Daddy, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, a gloop. It's choose. Life is a constant choosing of life and death. That is the moment where you're so like, I'm your dad, blah, blah, shh. Or you can be like, yes. Yes, I said it. I'm sorry. Let's do it. Oh, man. Okay. Let's don't go that rabbit trail. Coming back. I love Lori. I think we can move because that contribution, like, it's connected. It's not just like, bless me, oh, I need more stuff. Bless me. No, it's a very particular cry out connected to the history, the journey they have been going through. Then he calls in place Peniel. Coming to the encounter. You guys ready for the encounter? In Jacob, chapter 33, and Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold. Ooh, I love that behold part. And behold. Esau was coming, and 400 men with him. You can totally picture him going, moment of truth. He just had an amazing encounter. He's still wimping. He's like, it's real. But now he can see it. Now he's about to face it. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two female servants. Coming back to this interaction of humanity. He's protecting. We can see it as he's protecting and saying, like, if things go bad, not everyone gets killed, or another way to see it. I remember I got taught this way. Like, he's just making buffers and like, let's get them all killed before they get to me. So it's kind of like a buffering. So wherever he's going, which I believe at this moment he's a little more redeemed and healed. Verse 3. He himself went on before them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Pause for a moment. Please tell me I'm not in the new covenant at this moment in the gospel story with a father and a son. Does that sound similar? Have you ever, does that sound similar? And the son came with all his plan. He had a plan. I'm going to tell this to my father. I'm not worthy. Similar, he said something like that just a few verses ago. I'm not worthy. And what does the father do? he runs, interrupts his speech, and kisses him, and they cry. This tells us a lot about Esau's journey, which we don't have it here. Tells us a lot, just like Glory was mentioning. How did he process that? We don't know. How he was interacting, like how did he remember that selling for the soup? Was the soup worth it? Do you think he thought about it a few times afterwards? Was really those lentils worth it? I mean, I love lentils, but not that much.
It only seemed that worth it at the time.
Right at the moment, they're like, "Oh, there's the I was gonna die." Yeah. But then I again go with the wrestle for a moment. It's not only what he done. Brother also messed it up, for real. Mother was involved, so he had to struggle with that too. It's not like brother fighting. No. It sounds like family needs some healing, right? I mentioned last week, like the family seems going through a lot. But here comes Esau. And because of his actions, we can deduce, we can see him as he has gone through anger, when he experienced some healing instead of going into bitterness and murder. Because of this, because of the way they partnered again, and particularly the way he leaves the land and leaves Canaan to him. So that is very important to recall. And then he started asking questions and said, like, who are all these people, by the way? There's a lot of people. He says, the children whom God has graciously given to your servant. And then he goes again and said, like, take my gift. Like, what's all these gifts? Like, oh, it's for you. I wanted to just like lower your fire a little bit. He's like, I don't need these things. And then they press on, and eventually he accepts them. So, before we move, again, let's interact with this Esau part. And embracing. Again, if you were preparing this class, what is being highlighted for you? In this part in particular. You're seeing this, you're reading this, where's your mind going?
I was thinking about the angel touches him and like pops his hip out of socket, so as if things were not worse. So now he can't run even if he wanted to run, even if it were really bad for the two parties he sent, and he was literally alone and on foot. He couldn't even run.
Yeah, he's going to be slow.
Yeah, and yet Esau comes and they embrace, but even to kneel down, and bow 7 times. I mean, how painful might that be when you just had a dislocation? I mean, that sounds kind of painful to me. Costly, painful. Just the thought, I'd never thought that before, but just the reality of what that really means to have your hip dislocated. Yeah. Doesn't say dislocated and then healed him immediately. I mean, he limped, right?
We don't know, but yeah. I like to explore. That's why I love to hear other points of view, because also when you're going to adrenaline and you have somebody's gonna kill you, you don't feel a thing. I remember I have had many accidents in horses. Many. I have been kicked, bite, thrown, stepped, everything. But my worst one was one that the story's hilarious now because I survived, but it was my last day on the job. I was working in a ranch in Dallas, my last day.
Wow.
That evening, I was moving out. And a new client came in, drove a horse, and because that was my last day, the whole team, we were going for lunch. So I don't know what hit me. And I remember saying like, oh, tie him there when we return from lunch, I ride him. Makes no sense. Why would you take a new project that you're not going to be able to continue even the next day? But I don't know why I did say that, and I don't know why nobody stopped me. But the point is that we came back from lunch, and usually we have a protocol to read a horse. I mean, you don't believe the owners. That's a rule. Whatever they tell you, you don't believe them. Like, it's like a father bringing their children to kindergarten. Don't believe them. Watch them. It's completely different kid inside than outside. So with the horses, it's the same. It's like, he's very kind. Only a few moments. He's wild. That means he's a crazy horse. So we have protocols to see, like, read them. How dangerous. Well, I jumped them all. I don't know why. My head was off, probably. I skipped them all. I treated the horse like it was a normal horse, saddled it, and jump in, not even putting my, usually you don't get on. You get on by stages so to see how it's gonna react. Well, I put my foot on the stirrup and swing the lane, and that's it. That's it. I remember kind of like a second more. Like swing there and just, and when it jumped, obviously I'm not even sit down. So I'm flying away, but I got caught up in my jeans. So now don't go full details, but now I'm hanging on my jeans, face down, bucking with the horse. I'm conscious at this moment, so I'm just there, surviving. Finally, jeans break, fall to the ground, and the horse, when he sees me, turns around and steps on my back and goes away, obviously breaking this part, I don't know how, collarbone, right? So breaking that part, that awakes me, so now I'm awake. I'm awake, and the horse, I stand up, the horse looks at me and charges.
Oh no.
So that's why I remember, that's what triggered me when you said like the hip dislocated. I jumped the fence, a big fence that I have never been able to move or jump. I always had to walk around. I jumped it with a broken collar, I jumped it like it was nothing. I was just like, woo! The other side, made it safe and sound. It was so easy. So, I don't know what he was thinking, but when you're seeing that in the face, you bow down 7 times, you jump very high fences, you do a lot of stuff. Adrenaline is coming through very well. Praise God, I'm complete. It left me a cool mark. Sadly, went away. It healed enough that the scar is went, but I used to have half of a hoof. I wish it stayed, but now it's gone.
So did the employer's insurance cover you for that?
I didn't have insurance.
No, the employer?
I was a young kid, 21 years old.
No,
I didn't even went to the doctor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I rubbed my arm.
I digress.
I rubbed my arm and didn't treat it. I was moving from Dallas to Houston. A friend of mine was coming to help me. So I rubbed my arm, picked him up at the airport, moved everything to Houston. And then when we went to Mexico, 2 months later, I find out it was broken. But apparently they couldn't do anything other than what I did because it was a broken collarbone. They said like, well, it's broken. So I just confirmed what you said and keep it that way.
I appreciate you giving us permission to laugh at that.
Man, I laugh a lot. That's why I say it's hilarious. Now because I'm on the other side of the story. But yeah, you can do a lot of crazy things when you're 21. When you're 21 and when you are in adrenaline mode. It's crazy what you can accomplish in adrenaline mode. It's crazy. But yes, the pain and the struggle is even harder and stronger in the thoughts than the physical pain. In moments like this of encounter, guilt and shame are a lot more painful than broken bones. And worriedness and am I gonna make it? Despair or hope. These things is what plays out in life and death scenarios. And I believe Jacob is going through something like that. It's not just like what has happened. Can you imagine for a moment? I like to do this. It's like I like to think, how do you think Jacob felt when he got the embrace and the kiss? Just think about it for a moment. I'm assuming he's on his knees. And he got the embrace. And he gets the kiss. And suddenly just like, I don't know. I imagine him collapsing, crying. What do you think, Matt?
Oh. I mean, that would, I can imagine shock first, like disbelief for a while.
Is this real?
Is this real? Is this actually happening? And then I mean, it doesn't mention it, but I imagine relief and tears on it, just from relief, you see tears coming.
They both wept.
It says it both ways.
They both wept.
Yeah, I mean, just the relief of that. alone would be.
For both, they both wept.
So I can imagine, so this is what, 20 years later? 20, is that what?
24 at least,
24.
but something.
Maybe more.
Maybe more, yeah.
So is that one of those things of like, looking back on your youthful, like, disagreements as brothers, like, just how, like, bitter it was, but then having that time pass and the separation of what you lost because of it, like, just for both of them, just that, the, like, relief and grief at the same time?
Yes.
It makes sense that they would. Because, I mean, they're both wealthy and
Yeah.
have a lot of, children and wives and,
They're prosperous.
yeah, prosperous, which, so it's like they don't, like, he's probably right, Esau doesn't need these things from Jacob, but, so it's like, it wasn't about that, what they were fighting about back then.
Yes. It was a big story. It was redemption of brothers, but also the connection with the big story.
So is all the bowing down, is that just honoring?
I will guess yes. I
mean,
mean, it's
know
not
we look at it
worshiping.
different now.
I don't think it's worshiping. Is that what you're?
Yeah, well, yeah, I did.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think it's just like honoring, just going low, low, low.
Yeah, and they all, the servants, the wives and, yeah.
That was very common, even way further in history. That like just
Yeah.
like that's how you show respect to kings and this. Like a lot of the bowing and bowing, which is very unique, very very unique. Yes.
I always think about how the Lord is a God of families, like even how he describes himself, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes.
And this story particularly is interesting, even how you said like how he even leaves the land.
Yes.
And I think even further, there's moments where they're gonna take certain pieces of the land and the Lord is like, I'm not giving you this land because I gave this land to Esau, or I gave this land to whatever generations, and so like it's, I love to be able to see that the Lord gave promises and land to other than, yes, he blessed Jacob and through Jacob there was a lot of promises fulfilled, but the Lord also gave promises elsewhere.
Yes.
And that always takes me back to like, yeah, he's a God of families, like he wants to redeem Israel and the nations, because he has a plan for all of the nations. Like, I think if those who turn to him, he still will fulfill those promises as well.
Yes.
And I really love that. Like I love, and I find that too, like even, families are complicated.
Right? I thought it was only mine.
Families are so complicated. Things are hard. But when you fight for that relationship, then there's just more life, and you see more of the Lord and more of his fulfillment in those promises. And then there's even more hope for the redemption of the rest of the family.
Yes.
And so it's really good to like look back and think about, what the Lord has done and what the Lord can do and what he wants to do.
Yes.
So I'm kind of building on what we had talked about with the blessings, like what is your blessing?
Yeah.
What is the fulfillment of your promises?
Yes.
And I think I just wanted to point out that is very connected to family, and the Lord loves the redemption of family. I still think that one of the biggest miracles in life is relationship.
Yeah.
The relationship is restored, and I think that's his favorite miracle.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. And the fact that you're connected with the families part, actually, because of time, I might do it. There's a really interesting chapter with Dina on 34, and I think it's really interesting, but I will rather jump all the way to 35 because we're going to get to this nation and the company of nations and the family and like this, like the promise and the purpose. Like we're redeeming this to continue the big story. And I love how when you were saying it, Christina, it's like, okay, what is that blessing? And what do we have to hold on? Sometimes it's like, what is those promises that the Lord has spoken to you? Yes, it can be very precise and direct and individual promises, but there's one that it says, in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. Oh, that's massive. And we spent a full hour and a half a month ago, going through the scripture, just unpacking that verse. How it continues and it continues and it continues, and it's like, think about it. Families, yes, they're hard. They're like messy. I said it the other day. To say a family is like I lost the word for a moment. It's like a dysfunctional family is redundant. It's like say dysfunctional family is redundant. We all have like crashes and all that. But the goal is restoration, but even into a bigger purpose. All the families, like, you said it, Lord. You said it. I'm thinking of the jail guard from Paul and Silas. It's like, my family, and he cries out, and he gets like, and him and all his family got saved. And it's like, he's crying out for families. He's crying out for God purposes for the earth. And you, all the families of the earth. Okay, so let's, 35 says, God said, I always like to mark these parts. He speaks, arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there. I'm just reading what I underlined so we can make a case in here. Put away the foreign gods. Purify yourselves, so that I make there an altar to God. And then it says, a terror from God fell upon the cities that were around them, so that they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. And Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan. And he owned all the peoples who were with him. And there he built an altar and called the place El Bethel, because their God had revealed himself to him when he fled from his brother. And Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried under an oak below Bethel. So he called its name Alon Bakuth. God appeared to Jacob again. This is good. When he came from Padan Aram and blessed him, and God said to him, your name is Jacob. No longer shall your name be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. So he called his name Israel. And God said to him, this is very cool, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. That sounds familiar, right? And then he says, a nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from your own body. Ooh, we're going to come back to this. Let me read just one verse more. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give it to you, and I will give the land to your offspring after you. Those two verses are going to keep us busy for the rest of the 8 minutes. Okay, so when he says a nation and a company of nations, what does it mean? I'm all ears. What do you think it's saying over there? A nation and a company of nations shall come from you.
Every tongue, tribe, and nation will ultimately be before the Lord, worshiping the Lord. And I love seeing those threads throughout the scriptures that, here's a nation.
Yeah.
Here's a family, a tribe.
Yes. Sir?
Yeah, like, uses that word kal, company of nations, or really congregation. So congregation of nations, and I think that kind of like has some real new covenant overtones to it, definitely. Because I know, Messianic congregation, they like that word congregation, kahila, they like that. But I think that just shows you that in the end, ultimately, he's looking for just one body, but yet you don't erase Israel, so it's like Israel's still there, but yet.
So how do we call that in New Covenant terms?
It's one new man.
One new man.
It's one new man.
So could it be possible that you're reading a verse with one new man is in seed version? It's not developed, it's a seed. So you cannot see exactly how it's going to play out. But you get something, you get the unity with distinctions, a nation, talking about Israel. And a company of nations, those sons of Abraham by faith. Unity with distinction. Very unique that we're getting these elements. And again, sometimes it's like, well, you're reading into the text. That's what we're supposed to do. Using the text itself. That's what I mean. You're reading the rest, and you're like, oh, that sounds, I love how you said, like, this has very new covenant overtones. Jim.
You mentioned earlier about when Paul told the Ephesians, you know, you were once separated from the Commonwealth of Israel, you know, without hope in the world, but now you've been drawn near.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that he uses that term, Commonwealth.
Yes.
Because that is, a Commonwealth is nations and many nations.
Yeah.
But they have this unity, but they have this distinction, but they have this unity
Yes.
of one ruler,
Yes.
in this case, obviously, one God.
Yes. That's so good. Love it.
The Commonwealth is that's really good. It's a great picture. Because my dad's from the Cayman Islands, in the Caribbean, and it's part of the British Commonwealth. So that, when I connected those dots, that was really a big deal to me, or it made sense to me, because, like, yes, the king now, I guess, is you're under that kingship.
Yes.
But I feel very distinct, like the Caymanian culture and identity is distinct from the British one, just like the Scots are distinct, or
Love it.
the Australians or whatever. And so it gives that picture of, there's one kingdom, and there is, like, even in that picture, England is the the center kingdom, like the center nation, right? All of it. So Israel is the center nation, and there's one king that comes, traditionally, it makes a distinction, the king will come from your loins.
Yes.
So that's like, the kings will come from your loins, so that's like the blood, the Israel, right? But the commonwealth of the nations will be under that kingdom. The nations don't go away within one kingdom.
Yes.
So it is cool to see that.
I love it. I love it. And we don't get it that much because we don't have that many kingdoms now.
Right.
But we still, so I love the example you just put. Spain also operates in that dynamic. So you have historical Spain, you have a kingdom, but you have 5 different provinces, and they're independent from each other. Some of them even have their own language and then their own national anthem and the Lord arms, like shield of arms and all these, but they're all under one crown. And the fight that is going on heavily over there, and I have talked this with several Spanish people, including the consul of Spain in here, and in sharing the unity with distinction element, it was like, whoa, that's very interesting, because a lot of this fight is people wanting distinction without unity. Separatists, that's how they call it. Or people that want unity, no distinction. We're all imagine Cayman Islands saying, like, forget about that term. You're English. That is going to be very hard to pass through, right?
Right.
Like, what do you mean?
Because England's a very different place.
It's a very different place. Like,
The Caribbean, yeah.
you don't have mangoes over there, you people. We do, so. But I love the image. It's like, what the many distinct with their own richness, but under one king. And it's so sad because we haven't had a righteous king to model this. So when we think of the model and we use England or Spain or anybody that comes to mind, it's scary. It's like, oh, that didn't went well, right? But we do. Psalms 2 speaks about it. I mean, the whole scripture speaks about it. That kingdom. And then he goes into particular, and I'll give you this land, Isaac. The land gets confirmed over and over. But also, to whom belongs the earth? And it's Paul who says that he has put the limits on the nations. So who is the one that owns all? The Lord. The Lord. And he is committed to the restoration of all humanity through his instruments of ambassadors. And we're getting to see this in a very beautiful and seed expression. And I want to close us up because we're actually off time, but I'll just leave you with this comment. It's finished with genealogies, right? And these are the sons of. Don't raise your hand, but how many of you have gone like, I got that part? Oh, I'm sure you have at least.
Speed read.
Exactly, speed reading. Sometimes I just go like, because they repeat, so I'll just read like father, son, instead of the whole line. And sometimes I just go like, I'm glad you were prosperous. And you go for it. But what is the point of all that? Because the Bible has a lot of those chapters. What is the point of that? I will dare to say, every time we see those things, genealogies, the list of people coming out from other people, it says how involved humanity. Every time we read, we're seeing the struggle of humanity, but also we're seeing the divine intervention of the Lord opening the womb again and again and again and again and again and again. You mentioned that families are so important. I love this, and I mentioned last week, what sin could not destroy and nor the flood could wash away, that is family and childbearing. So every time we see this, you see the Lord not giving up on us and saying plan A still gonna flow from this family to this family, including broken families, prostitutes, and many. And Yeshua's genealogy is a beautiful example. It says, I will redeem them.